Good evening and welcome. Tonight we will be going over the history and geography of Basse in the Gambia. Now I can't get the borders of this region to pop up, mainly because the Gambia calls their regions, local government center. So this is the Basse local government something or other, local government region or something. It's a mouthful, and when you type it in, you don't really get anything. But the capital city of Basse Santa Su does pop up, so that's what's highlighted. But let's start off by showing you where exactly we are in the world. The Gambia is an interesting place. I'll link my Gambia playlist up in the corner if you want to learn a lot more about this country. We just covered the capital, Banjul, not long ago. And like I said then, my video about the history of the Gambia is one of my least viewed videos. It did get a little bump from the Banjul video, but I'd appreciate it if you checked it out. It's a lot of countries in Africa I've done videos on, barely cracked like 1,000 views, so be sure to check out that playlist. You're going to learn something. I guarantee it. It's a very fascinating country. As you can see here, it has this very bizarre shape, and that is because it follows the Gambia River entirely. It flows through the exact center of this entire country. The Gambia is the smallest country in inland Africa. I say that because there are lots of island nations. You can see Cabo Verde over here that are much smaller, obviously. There's lots more in the Indian Ocean, like the Seychelles and Mauritius, but this is the smallest country on the continent of Africa, and it is itty-bitty. Africa is massive. And when I zoom out, you can't even see it anymore. It's just a little place. And we are in the very, nub of the country here. This is Basse, at the very end of the river. Now, the British controlled the Gambia for a long time, and they sailed, up the river for as far as they could go, mapping it out. And once they couldn't go any further, they said, we're cutting it off. That's the end of our territory. So somewhere over here on the Gambia River, where they said, enough's enough. That's plenty. We can't go any further. And that place was in Basse. So the Gambia is entirely surrounded by Senegal. Let me zoom out a bit more. This is all Senegal here. So the Gambia and Senegal share a history up until colonization. It's actually an interesting town I found down here. This one. Yeah, Gambusara. I believe it's pronounced. It is right on the border of Senegal. You can see it just cuts off and there's nothing, but you can tell. It's funny, we just did this in my Iraq video on the border of Kuwait. You could tell that there kind of was something over here once upon a time. And apparently the French, once, they claimed this is French territory, this is British territory, the French were so ruthless in taxation and forced work that people just split. They probably just hopped the border, to be honest. So there's this beautiful, thriving town here, but this half, where it was cut in half by the colonizers, is no more. Interesting history there. But like I said, the history of this region before colonization is all very intermingled, and the earliest history I found here in Basse would have been in about the 7th century with the Bainuk Kingdom, I suppose is how you pronounce it, with the Bainuk culture, who are apparently in Senegal today. I love every time I research Africa, I hear about a culture I had no idea about. That was this one, the Bainuk. In the year 1230, obviously CE, the Mandinka people would have come into this area. they were led by a man named, let me make sure I get his name right, Tiramakan Traore. And he was a general for Sundiata Keita, who was the founder of the Mali Empire. And he came into this region and he took over and founded the kingdom of, make sure I get this right too. Where did I write it? Oh, there it is. Kabu. Very easy name. I should have got that. Kabu. And Kabu was a vassal state of the Mali Empire. Of course, you can see Mali is just over here. Mali. And like I said, they were Mandinka people, right? There are still Mandinka people here today. Or Malinke people, I should say. Other ethnic groups that live in this area, I should mention, are the Wolof, which again, majority of Wolof people live in Senegal, but they just overflow into the Gambia because this was all one place once upon a time, of course. There are Soninke people, and there are Fulani people. The Fulani were living under the Kabu, I guess, kingdom for a while until they rose up in the year 1867, took over, and they created their own kingdom called Fuladu. And you can even see, like, there are still places here called, where is it? There you go, Fuladu. It's still places called that. And that is because that kingdom was intact until the Gambia was annexed by Britain in the year 1903. The Gambia is, of course, independent today, as you can tell. But very interesting history, right? I have never heard of any of those kingdoms. I've obviously heard of the Mali Empire, but really fascinating history that controlled this area once upon a time. So this is the largest city, obviously, and capital, Basse, Santa Su, on the Gambia River. Oh, there's some vultures there in the trees. One interesting fact about Basse is, I think it's this bridge. There's a big bridge, it's got to be, that was built very recently. Maybe if I turn on the everything. Haha. The Basse Bridge. This was built by the Chinese government. I guess they were very invested in Basse. And they made sure that you knew it because I don't know what that says, if anyone can tell me. I'm sure it just says like Basse Bridge or you're welcome or something, but they made sure to let people know this is because of China. We did this. We built you this bridge. You're welcome. There's the old cotton factory. Of course, like most of the Gambia, the big business here is peanuts. Peanuts is by far their largest export. They're all about peanuts here in the Gambia, which is awesome. Can see lots of mosques here, parks, but yeah. Most of the places here don't have little slideshows. Very sadly, even all of these little areas that are popping up really don't have much, but I love the names of these villages. Korojulakunda, that's amazing. Jumankama, like they all sound like fantasy names to me. They all sound like they came out of a storybook. Dabakunda. Fascinating. I love it. I really hope I get to visit the Gambia someday. I'd love to check that off my little bucket list. Do you see the Medina Demba forest? Make sure I'm still in Basse. I don't think I am. Oh, I have to do it myself. That's right. Yeah, I wandered way too far. Way too far. I was about to say, I didn't see that before. But yeah. I don't think I have much else to say, to be honest. That's unfortunate. Um, yeah, I think I've hit everything I needed to say about this area. I really wish I could show you more, but if you're ever in the area, take a bunch of pictures, upload them to Google Earth. Just upload them to Google. They'll pop up on Google Earth, and we can see more of this area around the River Gambia. So let's see, like this forest. I think this one was, oh, this one's nothing. Yeah. Like some are just pictures, they're just like selfies and stuff, like just not great pictures, unfortunately. But I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you learned something new, give this video a thumbs up and let me know what you learned down in the comments. If you enjoy this style of content, please consider subscribing. If you liked this video, you're going to love the next few videos where they're actually going to be map only, no tablets, because the pictures are even worse. Just if there are pictures, they're like pictures of people's cars. It's not great. And I found even less history in these places, so I'm going to try to stretch those out as much as I can. But I bet you they are places you've never heard of, and I bet you're going to want to know more about it and learn what I could manage to find about them. So be sure to subscribe so you won't miss out. I hope that you found this video to be relaxing and educational, and I hope that you have a good night. Good night.